You have the Atlanta Hawks, sir. Who did
Yeah,
you pick
I
for them?
do. So I picked
Kevin
Onyeka
Knox?
Okongwu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so underrated. Well, we should. I mean, just off the jump, we should say like if a player is underrated and you're saying he's underrated, by definition, you're saying my rating of him is the proper one, which is that he's good or better. So it's like you create a straw man and say I think he's better than you think he is, more or less. Like that's what. So I think really what I'm saying is what this is going to come down to for me in a lot of cases, and this is one of them. And as I'm looking down my list, a lot of them will be this way. I just like this guy, and I don't feel like he's regarded for whatever reason as being the level of player that I think he is. And like these aren't all stars, obviously, but anyway, so that's a little preamble. I like Okongwu just because part of it's because one of those guys that we don't have a lot of sample size with because he's kind of been behind a couple, more established players in Clint Capela and John Collins. He's had some injuries both as a rookie and this year. But I loved him in the draft just as a theoretical piece, like a kind of undersized-ish center that could move but could defend the rim, could switch a little bit. So all that's kind of to be determined. But what I have this year, and some of these stats are a couple days out of date by now, but the Hawks are +7 net rating with him on the floor, and that's mostly coming on defense. You can see his rim protection is really good. He's at like 58.5% inside 6 feet as the primary defender, which is better than Capella and better than Collins. All these are small samples, and all these are subject to, well, who's trying to score over him? It's probably backups, but still, like that's compelling to me. And there's a couple games ago, he guarded Giannis for 12 field goal attempts, and Giannis made 2 of them. So anecdotally, actually, that's January. I'm sorry, that's not a couple games ago. Still happened.
What is
So
time?
there's what is time? It's flat circle. So there's anecdotal stuff. You can watch him the way he moves around. And there's a theory of him as an undersized center, which everybody wants, who can switch and guard the rim. I just think that's a really valuable player type. I don't know really what he's going to be offensively because it's still so early, but I do think he's definitely a center. I think if they try to shoehorn him in as a 4, I don't like it as much. But yeah, really good backup basically right now that I think obviously his draft pedigree too says there's kind of some runway for him to be a lot more than that.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. And because he is a center, and I think that's just pretty clear. And he's a center that does more than just, there's more to his offensive arsenal than just rim running or a lob catching. Like he can do some one dribble stuff and take some shots a little bit further away from the basket. Not so much that you trust him with a jumper or to stretch the floor. Hence, he's a 5. They might have some interesting decisions to make looking at John Collins and Clint Capella moving forward. He would have been my pick too had I done this team. And I think he could be someone who's really valuable to them in the playoffs where he does feel more matchup proof than a Clint Capella or even a John Collins on defense, just because of his mobility on that side of the floor.
Yeah, I think too he's a better finisher than Capella is right now. Like Capella's finishing has kind of come and gone, and I think it mostly was there when James Harden was throwing him lobs in Houston. But I think Okongwu has some good touch. He gets off the floor quick. I think offensively he's probably going to be a role guy at least at first. I think I agree. There's potential for more than that. But yeah, there's just a lot to like about him. Yeah, so actually, just to put a button on the Hawks, like I guess I was part of the reason I had been thinking John Collins was going to leave for a long time, or that they wouldn't really spend much to re-sign him, was that maybe they thought Okongwu was kind of like ready, or that Capella was going to be a trade piece. I think it's probably just the injuries that have prevented that as much as anything else.
Yeah, and it's almost worked out in their favor because it seems like one of the 3 of them is always missing or dealing with something to where it
Yeah.
hasn't been that much of a logjam. I am just interested to see how it plays out long term.